Let's go to the Biden visit. Out of that Gaza attack today, of course, we had the Arab Council now postpone or indeed cancel their meeting with the US president. What's he going to, other than show support, what's he going to Israel for, particularly given those remarks from the Iranian Supreme Leader that have just escalated things in recent hours?
So, Peter, this is a really complex, sequence we're witnessing here. I've tried to analyse it in the paper without having any kind of super inside information. But I think this is an incredibly important visit by Biden, and I pay tribute to him for it. Look, I'm as critical of Biden as the next person. I find his press conferences excruciating and all the rest of it. But this visit takes some courage, even in Air Force One. It's not inconceivable. I mean, he's a super target. He's the #1 terrorist target in the world. He's certainly going there to express solidarity with Israel, and that's very good. That's a very good thing. No president has ever been on Israeli soil in the midst of an actual conflict going on. He's also going there to warn Iran. Now, I think Iran is threatening Israel, and I think it's bluffing. But it's all very well for me to think it's bluffing. Israel can't just assume that it's a bluff. But Biden has also moved 2 US aircraft carrier battle groups into the waters nearby. And those, you know better than me, Peter, those carrier battle groups, they've got lots and lots of surface ships with them. They got hundreds and hundreds of planes and thousands of missiles. They've got submarines, nuclear-powered submarines with them. So Iran would be on notice that if it attacks Israel, if it actually attacks Israel with missiles, it's overwhelmingly likely to get an American military response. That's very powerful. But having said all that, Biden will also be saying to Netanyahu, I want you to achieve your aims in Gaza at the minimum loss of innocent human life, and I want there to be some kind of humanitarian corridor, and I want there to be some provision of humanitarian aid to the civilians in Gaza. This is going to be a very difficult conversation. I don't think the Israelis are indifferent to those considerations in any event. But that's so without, Anthony Blinken didn't return my call and hasn't told me, but that would be my analysis of what they're doing now.
I want to ask you about Russia and China and how they play out here. Because, I mean, let's not forget we've got Ukraine going on as well. But why doesn't Egypt open its southern borders, at least to women and children?
Well, that's a very good question, Peter. Look, the Arabs are not really supporters of the Palestinian cause. The Arab leadership hates Hamas, and the Egyptian leadership particularly hates Hamas because Hamas is a Muslim Brotherhood movement, and remember, al-Sisi came to power destroying the rule of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, the temporary brief rule of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt after Mubarak was overthrown. Also, they're not that generous to the Palestinians. It's absurd that Palestinians in the Arab world are sometimes still called refugees. They've lived in Arab countries for decades and sometimes for generations. On the other hand, it's not absolutely unreasonable that they don't suddenly want 2 million Palestinian refugees in northern Egypt. We sometimes forget Egypt itself is a pretty fragile state. It went through chaos and disorder at the end of Mubarak's rule. However, you're absolutely right, Peter. The Rafah crossing is going to be central to getting humanitarian assistance into the people of Gaza. Egypt has got a difficult situation, although it's not sympathetic to Hamas or anything. Suffering amongst the Palestinians does rile up its street, there's no doubt. That's what Hamas wants to do. And it can't be seen to be too cooperative with Israel. It's a great pity, though, that this strike on the hospital happened, whoever did it, and it torpedoed Biden's meeting, because I thought the symbolism of going to Israel, expressing solidarity, but then going to an American ally in the Arab world, Jordan, talking to another American ally in Egypt, and talking to the nearest thing to a legitimate representative the Palestinians have got, Mahmoud Abbas, to show American concern for the Arab world as well. I thought that was all pretty good. I'd score Biden pretty high on his response so far here, and it's a real pity that the Arab League has blown off this visit that Biden's making to the region.
You just mentioned the timing, and I think we both can say to our audience tonight there have been plenty of circumstances in the past where terrorists have, killed their own people to stage something that looks like it's come from another adversary and tried to blame them in the public domain. Just quickly, China and Russia, anything there you can tell us?
Well, Peter, I would say to you the central strategic fact of our time is the de facto alliance between China, Russia, Iran and North Korea. So we've got a full-scale crisis in Europe with this brutal invasion of Ukraine by Russia. Now we've got a full-scale crisis in the Middle East with Iran waging war on Israel through its proxies in Hamas and probably in Hezbollah. Now, America has never been more stretched in recent years, and Biden has not increased the defence budget nor increased the American industrial capacity, even though he's been spending trillions of dollars on net zero fantasies and the like. And I wonder if China, which, they just hosted Vladimir Putin in Beijing, I wonder if China is not going to find this a propitious time to take some very aggressive action in the Indo-Pacific in about 6 or 8 weeks' time. I think that's a real possibility.
I tell you, it feels like the days of the axis of evil all over again. Greg Sheridan, thank you.